Just a few days back, the Tripura Congress chief, Piyush Kanti Biswas, resigned from his post, and of course, he took back his resignation. But interestingly, one of the first reactions which came in was from the recently joined TMC leader, Sushmita Dev. Now, she's going to play a very important role as far as the TMC's inroads into Tripura is concerned. She said, I understand you were doing a tough job and it's not an easy job to do. Politically loaded statement. While the Trinamool Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party keep on talking about the need for an opposition unity to beat the BJP in 2024, but if you look at the facts and the way they're going about things, it's very clear that they are going to rise at the cost of the Congress party. I'm Pallavi Ghosh, and my one take this week asks this question, that what can be the choice for the Congress? Rising or actually giving itself up and compromising with the situation for the sake of the larger goal of opposition unity. Now, at a virtual meeting which was hosted by Sonia Gandhi, she made an elaborate speech. Now, in that speech, she said that there are lots of things which are going wrong with the BJP, but this is also not the time to discuss leadership issues, something which was also echoed by Mamata Banerjee, who was attending that meeting. Sonia Gandhi also said the time has come now for all of us to be united and take on the BJP in 2024. I remember when I started covering the Congress party and the genesis of the UPA just ahead of 2004, that's exactly what Sonia Gandhi would tell many of her unlikely allies. For example, the DMK, Ram Vilas Paswan. She would walk up to them and she would tell them, I know you have differences with the Congress party. That's something which she told Mr. Sharad Pawar as well. But this is not a time to show and display our differences. This is the time to bury them because we have to defeat the NDA at any cost. Well, that appeal of Sonia Gandhi worked not once but twice over. UPA came to power. It's at redux moments once again. But lots of things have changed. At that point of time, the DMK, for example, or even the Trinamool Congress did not have national ambitions. But today, the Aam Aadmi Party and the Trinamool Congress does have, and they're very open about it. I'm going to focus briefly on both, which is why I'm going back to why Sushmita Dev said what she said, because clearly she was making the point that as a TMC leader who's going to spend a lot of time in Tripura, the Congress perhaps has a very tough job and no chances. But the Congress was hoping that his alliance with the left in West Bengal could be translated into some kind of an understanding in Tripura. Now, in Tripura, it feels that the BJP does not have a good chance, and therefore this is the time when the Congress can start making inroads. But unfortunately, as always, Congress has been caught in a slumber. The Trinamool Congress is not waiting for the elections to be round the corner. They've already begun work for what is the 2023 elections, because defeating the BJP just a year ahead of the Lok Sabha elections, the Trinamool's calculations is that it can actually set the narrative and the agenda. A repeat of what happened in Bengal. Okay, now we come back to the two parties I'm talking about and focusing on this week, the TMC and the Aam Aadmi Party. Their rise, their national ambitions, isn't it going to be at the cost of the Congress party? Well, yes, absolutely. Focusing first on the Trinamool Congress. Look at the tweets a couple of days back. While at every press conference, even at the one in which Sushmita Dev, a Congress leader, joined the TMC, Derek O'Brien said, look, Mamata Banerjee is meeting Sonia Gandhi on 20th. That is the best display of opposition unity. Remember when Shashi Tharoor was acquitted by the court, Derek O'Brien also tweeted in his favour. Also, when Rahul Gandhi and many of the Congress leaders' accounts were unlocked, again he tweeted in their favour. These are the nuances which were being put out by the Trinamool Congress. But deep within, Mamata Banerjee knows that the only way she is going to do well and put up an alternative to the BJP is that Trinamool comes out of this Bengal party narrative. And its rise can only be at the cost of the Congress party. Tripura is the best case example, where it's of course making inroads, and it has a game plan. Its game plan is look at potential high-profile people with merit leaders, and no one is untouchable. Just because we want to have a united force, just because we are reaching up and warming up to a Congress party, doesn't mean that the Congress is going to be untouchable. If we need to take leaders from the Congress, then so be it. They hate the word poach, but as Derek O'Brien said, we are not an NGO, we are a political party, and therefore anyone who's willing to join us to take on the BJP, we are ready to welcome them. That's where the problem can begin for the Congress party. First of all, the Congress has been completely decimated in West Bengal. Its alliance with the left has clearly not worked. It's a point which Mamata Banerjee never lets go the Congress and constantly reminds them. That's one point. Tripura is just the beginning of one state. That's just the first leg towards her look east policy. And in many of the states like in Nagaland, in Manipur, the Congress has and did have a sizable presence. Obviously, the Tripuras or the TMC's rise, and in these states can only be at the cost of the Congress party. How can they do it? They can do it by either breaking the Congress party, trying to make it clear to Congress leaders that you have no future there, it's best to join the TMC. So when they start joining the TMC, the Congress organization gets substantially weakened. A march ahead by the TMC in the northeast would be many steps backwards as far as the Congress party is concerned. But it does not get limited only to northeast. In state after state, they are trying to make a feeble presence felt. Wherever they can ally or set open shop, and often at the cost of Congress, because they are going to position themselves as an alternative to the BJP. The anti-BJP votes it hopes will start going to the Trinamool Congress. It certainly will put the Congress party on a bit of a back foot. But I think the most glaring example of how the TMC and AAP actually are rising at the cost of Congress is actually with the Aam Aadmi party. The first big state which comes to mind is that of Punjab. It is very clear that the AAP has now made up its mind that come what may, we have to defeat the Congress party in Punjab. The Akalis, we know because of the farmers issue, because they were part of the cabinet meeting when the farm laws were passed, are always going to be on a back foot on this. The AAP has put up a very aggressive front as far as the farmers issue is concerned. The only problem is that they don't have a face. But Captain Amrinder Singh, who was till now a very powerful face and which was working in favour of the Punjab Congress, is now reduced and is nowhere near his former self. Navjot Singh Sidhu's public comments, appointment of media advisors who are very clearly anti-captain, the open preference of the Gandhis for Sidhu has diminished the clout of Captain Amrinder Singh. No matter how much the captain flexes his muscles, he would want to call the shots as far as the ticket distribution is concerned. It's very clear that he is no longer what he was earlier. Therefore, this whole concept of a strong, powerful face in Punjab to a very great extent has been diminished, and this certainly helps the Aam Aadmi party, which has already begun the work like the cadre system of the RSS and the BJP, going from tehsil to tehsil, village to village, home to make his presence felt. Its announcement of free electricity to farmers is being seen as a jackpot announcement by the Aam Aadmi party. Here, the growth of AAP is certainly going to be at the cost of the Congress party. If Aam Aadmi party manages to win elections in Punjab, then Haryana is up for grabs, definitely, because the same factors seem to be working there as well. But as I said, the Aam Aadmi party is not limiting itself only to Punjab and Haryana. It's also putting up candidates in Gujarat. Now what happens, that anti-BJP vote, which could have gone to a Congress party, and in the last assembly elections of Gujarat, the Congress party actually did pretty well for themselves, will now perhaps shift to the Aam Aadmi party, again to the detriment of the Congress party. Now, when I did speak to a Congress insiders, they are in a bit of a fix. They say we do agree that BJP is a larger enemy, but if we allow ourselves to be pushed back by a rising TMC or an Aam Aadmi party, then what is going to happen to us is we can no longer head or be the fulcrum of an anti-opposition front. As a top leader of the Congress party told me that it's bad enough we don't have a leadership clarity and we are not winning state elections. But what's going to be worse is that if we are no longer going to be the natural choice of people who want to look for a choice different from the BJP, then where will that position of the Congress party as a grand old national party remain? This is going to be a dilemma. It's a catch-22 situation. So I'm coming back to what I began with. What can be bigger for the Congress party? A need for an opposition unity or a need to project itself and grow? I'm getting a lot of reactions. Of course, some of them are attacking the Trinamool Congress and the Aam Aadmi party. But at the end of the day, it's so easy to blame your opponents or your rivals. But you also need to introspect and look within. The Congress party perhaps has stopped having those Chintan Baithaks. And that is where, if you look at state after state, in region after region, where down, south, east and west, it's becoming very clear that the Congress party is being pushed away not just by the BJP, but its friends who also are its rivals. And in that sense, will the Congress Mukt Bharat actually become a reality? Do give in your reactions, seeing some interesting ones, but keep your reactions going. We're going to be coming back with much more on the other side next week and so many others. Thank you so much for watching.